So TBCo was started about 9 years ago now. So we are focused on having a positive impact and creating design leading sustainable goods. We're a B Corp company and we're focused on having positive impact, people and planet. So we have our 2% pledge, which is where we donate 1% of all of our revenue to charities supporting people and 1% to charities supporting the planet. We also work with our suppliers in a really sustainable and productive way. We really carefully find great suppliers that really align with our culture and our values. Our mission is that we want to design a better tomorrow with warmer people and a cooler planet. And we really think about that in every aspect of the business. Exporting has been part of our business since we began, but in the last few years it's really grown to become actually the biggest part of our business, and now our international market is bigger than our UK market. We've grown this quite a lot through working with retailers around the world that we partner with and we carefully select, and it allows us to grow our brand in a way that we can enter new markets and align with retailers over there who already have built that brand trust with their customer. So it's really opened doors to new markets for us and new customer bases. So it's allowed us to expand really quickly into those markets without having to set up full logistics operations there like we would do for retail. We have worked with a lot of different people around the world, and we're now launching our first international collaboration with a designer out in New York, which was really exciting to bring sort of the Scottish design aspect of the designers here, but work with their team in the US to make it really focused on that market. And also the B Corp company, the community that B Corp has is really international, so it lets us work with other B Corp companies and also reach audiences that are really focused on sustainability and are looking to shop with other B Corp companies that they really value and align with. Net zero is a big part of our agenda going forward. Obviously, carbon emissions is really important, and we take that into account. When we're growing a market, it is hard to always come up with the most optimum way to serve that market that reduces carbon, because until you get to a certain point, you can't justify necessarily having a logistics base as close to that market as you would like. However, I think there are ways to do that slightly better. So we consolidate returns internationally so that we're not air freighting things individually when we're returning them. When we're importing our products, we're sea freighting them in, and often we can ship them straight out to retailers internationally for larger orders. So we try and work around it in that way. Also, because we donate 1% of all revenue back to supporting the planet, we try and make sure that we're always offsetting any carbon emissions that we're doing that way anyway. But I always think that there's ways that we can do things better. So we are always trying to see what the best ways of working are, and just making sure that we're not doing something at detriment to maybe the people that we're working with or other areas of the business. We tend to say that we work with our partners to manufacture our products rather than suppliers. And I guess the difference that we see it as is that we go into a partnership rather than just going with people who can do something at the cheapest rate at the time. And so the partners that we've worked with now, we've worked with for 8 or 9 years. We've just onboarded a couple of new sustainable partners in the last couple of years that we're starting to develop that with now to support our growth. But our partners that we've worked with from the start, we've really helped. We go out to see them and we make suggestions on ways that they can improve things, and we listen to what they are struggling with as well. So for instance, in India, we were getting feedback that some of our fringing wasn't super neat. And we went to go and talk to them about it, about whether they could improve that. And the conversation was actually that they could improve it by using a machine, but they actually hadn't finished them all. But that supports a much wider community of women in the area. And so we supported them to do that. And so for us, it was about then communicating to our customers, this is why they look the way that they do, because actually they have a much better impact and a much better story in how they were created. So it's definitely about how do we work together to improve things and make sure that we're not just ticking boxes, but actually listening to how are they working and making sure that we're aligning with the long-term impact that that's having. To have that sustainability impact, we feel like that should be global and it shouldn't be localized to this market. And yeah, we just want to make sure that as we're growing, we're keeping true to our values. So making sure that we're growing our B Corp points as we're growing our exports, as we're growing our revenue, and as we're growing our impact. So everything should be able to grow together. And yeah, it would be exciting to see where we are in a few years from now. I think it's good to make sure that you are looking at the different markets and understanding why you're wanting to go into different markets, and also trying to test them. So picking a market that you think most aligns with either your customer base or the ways of working that you have, so that you think that you can be successful in that market. Then test that individual market maybe in a small way before launching into a bigger scale, just to make sure that it is as you expected. But yeah, I think also not being too afraid. It's relatively easy to just start from, you don't need to have a fulfillment center in the US to start shipping to the US. And one of the things that we did is we changed our pricing is slightly different in the UK to the US so that we can factor in free shipping and free returns, because that can be a huge barrier for customers purchasing. And so actually, if we build a little bit of that into the pricing, then it can just make it a little bit of an easier transaction for a customer to test and learn with you when they don't feel like they're having huge costs of shipping and returns, which are kind of fixed costs. So you kind of need to take that short-term pain because you're working towards this longer-term relationship that you're building with that customer base over there to grow that market. And then in the longer run, it definitely works out that you can actually factor in all those costs, and that market then becomes actually a really profitable market in the long run. But yeah, it is like, you do have to understand that it might take a little while to get there.